Hey, welcome to another episode of Dave's Imaginations. Today, we're going to recap not just last night's game of D&D, but the last three nights of D&D, as we've had 3 sessions of D&D in the last 7 days. So, stay tuned. Okay, so, like I said, we've had 3 sessions. We had last night's Thursday, last night's session, Thursday, March 10th. Then we had a session on Sunday, March 6th, and I hadn't done a recap for Thursday, March 3rd. So if we go back all the way to March 3rd, that particular night, there wasn't a lot of action, as we spent most of the time discussing our strategy they discussed their strategy for exactly how they were going to organize all their allies in their final assault, in their final attack on Strahd. And this was all leading up to their trip to Ravenloft, as 5 p.m. on day 12, Strahdmas Eve, right? Day 12, Strahdmas Eve, they were going to be picked up by a carriage. Now, leading up to that, they had gathered some silver weapons. They had recruited druids and let them know what the plan was. And then eventually, though, they were picked up for the trip to Ravenloft. And as they went through Vallaki, they were paraded through Vallaki, and the crowd was singing "All Will Be Well" and cheering, and they were all Princess Farinka, not Rika, Princess Irina, and Queen Irina, as they went through. And then got through that, and they made it to Ravenloft. And in Ravenloft, they went over the bridge, and they were noticing all the battlements, and they come in through the drawbridge. They come through the big grand doors, and they're initially greeted by Rahadin and Escher, and Gertruda was there, I believe, and they are shown to their quarters, and Rahadin encourages them to get cleaned up. And so there's a little bit amount of time there spent getting cleaned up, as there was baths to be taken. They had their armor cleaned and polished, and the men had music and dancers, while the women had more of a spa treatment. Eventually they were cleaned up, and they were escorted back down to the dinner hall. And at the dinner hall, on their way down, they encountered Freya Lees leaving with a couple of her druids, and she gave a wink to Strider. I'm not sure what that means. And then they had to wait before they could talk to Strahd, because he was then meeting with Madame Ava. And then they got a glimpse of Marushka and Petya, the two Vistani who brought them into the country, into Barovia. And then after they were gone, they had their dinner with Strahd. And then after dinner, what did they do after dinner? They got a castle. They got a tour of the castle. And then after the tour of the castle, they had their rehearsal. They walked through the rehearsal. Oh yeah, and then the Father von Humperdinck, I think I put it. So that was kind of fun. And after that, they went and they had their dance. And during the dance, there was a couple things that happened that was of interest. One of the dancers said, Tua, said, "Hey, we're not all here in league with Strahd, and some of us are coerced and don't all like Strahd, and can you help?" And she asked that of Olak, and Olak wasn't willing to say anything. And then also during the dance, Escher, one of the guys, took Gloin down to ask him to help him bring up a barrel of wine. And as he did that, they saw a commoner strung up from the ceiling, blood dripping into a cauldron. And Escher reminds him that, hey, you didn't forget you were having, your host was a monster, did you? And Gloin kept questioning, why do you need my help? Because he just believes that this guy's a vampire. And they picked up the cask of wine and they took it back up. Oh, not before. They peek in, or Gloin takes a peek into the Hall of Bones. And in the Hall of Bones, Katota had been taken down by one of the brides, Volunta, and taken into this room covered in bones. And Volunta reveals herself to have a fascination with these bones. And above the door was the skull of a giant dragon, a dragon they've been looking for. So they were pretty excited to learn about that, and Gloin in particular. And as Volunta has Volunta has Katota cast a animate dead spell, and they together bring to life a skeleton. So after all that's done, as Katota gets done with his little thing with Volunta, and Gloin gets done with bringing up the cask of ale or wine, that is, eventually the dance is done, and the party retires up to their quarters. Now in the quarters, the party have an after party. So the dancers are up there, the music's up there, and they continue to go on. And eventually when that's done, they settle down, and Ruckus is pulled away by Genevieve, one of the girls he was flirting with, one of the bath girls that he was flirting with, and Genevieve pulls him into, goes up a flight of stairs and into a room full of cats, and they start smooching on each other, and it's not long after that starts, though, the other two girls that Ruckus had been flirting with, Tua and Emma, come in, and we roll on the chaos table to see how that goes, and it doesn't go well, as they get in a fight and they turn on Ruckus and they give him a black eye. We kind of hand wave that, but needless to say, those three women in particular are not too fond of Ruckus. But meanwhile, while that was happening, the rest of them, or when he finally gets back, he sees the rest of the crew has huddled over the map of Ravenloft that they found in the Tome of Strahd. That was an addition I put in the Tome of Strahd, was the map, the blueprints, if you would, of Ravenloft. And they're conniving over how they might be able to get this dragon skull, which they believe to be the dragon skull of Argynvost. And so that brings us to last night. So the first part of last night was spent on figuring out the plan of how to get this skull out. And they end up with Katota trying to sweet talk Volunta into doing it. Now, Volunta, fascinated with bones, jumps at the chance to animate the entire skeleton of a dragon. And so she conjures up Big B's hand and rips the skull off the ceiling and takes it out, and she recruits the wagon and Goron, the father of Irina, and they're going to take the wagon to Argynvost, where they're gonna put the skeleton back together. Meanwhile, everyone but Varinka and Irina fly or is flown to Argynvost. And when they get to Argynvost, they recruit Savid, the Silver Wormling, also, and they prepare for the arrival of, because they can fly there much faster than the carriage can get there. So they fly there and they prepare and they hide and they set up for the eventual coming of Valenta and Katota. They also talk to the spirits there, the spirit of Horngard and Sir Godfrey, and let this Sir Godfrey, the right-hand man of this Vladimir Horngard, let them know that it's coming, and hey, we're going to light this beacon, and they get all excited, and they arrange for Vladimir to see it. Eventually, Katota and Valenta do get there, and they get the dragon skull into the mausoleum and join it with the bones, and the beacon lights, and Valenta's like, uh-oh, that's not good. We better hurry up, Katota, and do this ritual. And she goes back to the cart and gets her stuff, and just as she's getting her stuff, the battle begins as the party attacks her. And through a course of events, eventually, after now, Valenta was actually two monsters combined. She is both a vampire spawn, and all that entails, but she's also a necromancer. So I used combined stats. I gave her the ability of both those things, and she popped off. Bigsby Hand is I think a 5th level spell, but as a necromancer, straight out of the monster manual, she actually gets a 6th level spell, which is what she started with. I think that was a finger of Circle of Death, I think it was what it's called, and it did a bunch of damage. And I think, but it only really hit one person. Was it Strider? I think it might have been Strider, who did fail his Constitution saving throw. He took some damage there, pretty good hit of like 25 points, something like that. Anyway, but he survived. And so the guys, they know that this gal is pretty darn powerful. And she throws Bigsby Hand. She does that twice. She has that Circle of Death, I believe it was. And then she used, when she was getting hit by left and right by these spells, and the gold dragon appears and attacks her, she uses a dimension door and into the mausoleum and pulls Katota in, bars the door. And but on the next turn, it was the Save of the Silver Dragons who does a crash landing, a crashing fly into the door, busting it down. And that's followed by Katota and a couple other people, and they whittle Valenta down before she has another turn. And that's a good thing, because Valenta was absolutely about ready to sacrifice Katota to get some health back. But before she can, Katota had his turn, and basically with a silvered dagger that he had just gotten, pushes it into her side, and with a spiritual weapon, slits her throat and ends Valenta. Okay. Beacon lit. Valenta's taken one of the brides, has been taken care of. It's 2 a.m., 3 a.m. in the morning, and it's time for them to return to Ravenloft. All right, so that kind of brings us up to speed. But before I end today, I wanted to review allies and foes and talk through the plan as I know it, as I sit here right now. So allies, we have the druids Helwa and her 14 druids. We have Juniper and her 14 druids. We have Impenduka and 13 druids. We have Rictavio, Mr. Fuzzy Boots, Esmeralda. We have 21 Keepers of the Feather / Were-Ravens. We have 16 Commoners and Freedom Fighters. We have 11 Dark Elves. We have Savid the Silver Wormling. And now with the beacon lit, now we have Vladimir Horngard, Sir Godfrey Gwillem. We have, and any of the Revenants and Phantom Warriors that were in Argynvost. And they have agreed to attack Ravenloft and Strahd at sundown of the next day. So all those people on their side. Now they have Goron and Izek. The father you would expect would be on their side, and Izek would be on their side. Now on their foes, they have, of course, Strahd. They have Rahadin. They have two of the remaining brides of Strahd. They have Escher. They have Emma and Martin, who are hired hands, hired mercenaries of Strahd. and now don't like Ruckus very much. They have the Barovian witches, which we know there's probably 4 of them, and we know vampire spawn. Now, we don't know how many vampire spawn, but we know there's plenty of them. And then we also have Cyrus Bellevue, who seems to be the organizer of the skeletons, and we've seen many gargoyles. I think we counted 30, and then really countless skeletons. Okay, so those are the foes. On the neutral side, now we haven't seen the whole castle yet either. There's certainly parts of the lower dungeons that we haven't gone through, so who knows what's down there. Now, neutral or unknown are Freyalise, we believe, is a true neutral and probably leaning toward the party side, our hero side. We have the Vistani, who seem like more of a true neutral, probably leaning more towards Strahd, but who knows? And finally, the Mad Mage. The Mad Mage is looking for his spellbook, and I didn't call him neutral. He would certainly, if he found his spellbook, he would certainly be on the party side. But will he find that spellbook? Will he find his staff? And we'll have to roll on our fate chart, our chaos chart, to see if that happens. And then lastly, something I haven't talked to you guys about before, are the townsfolk. Now with that beacon lit up, will anyone else rally and support the party? Or is that just another party favor, another celebration of Strahd getting married? I don't know. We'll have to see. So those are the allies and the foes and some of the neutral and unknown people. Now for the plan. Let's see what the plan is. Just before the ceremony is to begin, Varinka is going to cast Flock of Familiars and send one raven, skeletal raven, to the brazier and one to the drawbridge. At the spire, the brazier at the spire, the familiar will pick up the stone to open the portal to the Salinka Pass, where Helwa and her 14 druids, Juniper and her 14 druids, and Katota that's changed of plans. Katota is now going to join because he doesn't want to go back to the Ravenloft and doesn't want to risk being questioned because he was the last one seen. He was the last one seen with Valenta. So so you have Helwa's crew, Katota's crew, Helwa's crew, and Juniper's crew, and Katota all at Salinka Pass. And then at the drawbridge, when that raven lands, that skeletal raven lands on top of the drawbridge, that is the rallying cry for for Impenduka and her 13 druids to attack the drawbridge, find the gears, clear it of the skeletons, and drop the drawbridge. And then when that skeletal raven lands there, Savid's going to transform into his silver dragon, and he's going to circle around, and he's going to attack the heart that's in the spire. So that heart. And so when that drawbridge falls, Rictavio, Mr. Fuzzy Boots, Esmeralda, the 21 keepers of the feather / were ravens, the 16 commoners, freedom fighters, the 11 dark elves, all will storm the castle. They will secure the front door to the best they can. They will try to break through and try to secure the entrance to the castle to prevent skeletons from coming in. So they need to secure that entrance and make sure that no one can go into the wedding hall where the wedding's happening, because as all this is happening, at some point during that ceremony, Irina is going to turn on Strahd and begin that battle. Now, all along while that's happening, we'll be rolling to see how those things go. All the while that's happening, at some point in there, we're going to have to roll to see if the Mad Mage comes. And at some point in there, the Horn Guard and Sir Godfrey Gwillem and his Revenants and Phantom Warriors, they will appear and invade as well. and we'll see how that goes. And it's certainly going to be exciting. And all this is going to happen 2 weeks from last night. I don't know what date is that. The 24th, I believe it is. That is, as next week we're skipping as one of our people's gone. And I didn't want to have this game with one of our people missing. So in 2 weeks, we will play all this out, or at least we'll start to play all this out, and we'll see how it goes. So that's so exciting. I'm getting really excited for this. And hey, kudos to Leonard for sticking to his guns and pushing to have this Dragon Heist. I thought it was a lot of fun. It went very well. It was a lot of fun to coordinate and DM. I'm glad they did it. And I really look forward to seeing how things go in 2 weeks. So, thanks for joining. Thanks for watching. And 2 weeks. Take care. We'll see you next time.